Now, the last and most important step to this process, I'm talking slow because you really need to take this in. When the tenant gets evicted, now there's certain types of evictions which can all differ in the process. You can evict someone on non-payment of rent, but you can also evict someone for violating lease responsibilities. You can also evict someone when their lease ends and they decide not to leave. As you can see, this can be very complicated, and then again, you want to make sure you do the steps right. In this video, we're only going to describe how to evict someone over non-payment of rent, because this is most common. Step one when evicting someone over non-payment of rent is to give a 5-day pay or quit notice, which is basically just saying you have 5 days to pay, we need to vacate the premises. Of course, they're not going to vacate the premises that soon. But remember, this is a 5-day notice. So if rent is due on the 1st, you can actually give this notice on the 2nd. A lot of people think you have to wait 5 days, meaning the 5th of the month, and then give the notice, which would push you back another 5 days, which then means you wouldn't be able to go to the courthouse until the 10th. This is not true. You're able to give the 5-day notice the day after rent is due/late, which would be the 2nd day of the month, if your lease states that rent is due the 1st day of the month. This notice is just, you can give it through certified mail, preferably, so you can track it. And it's just a notice stating they have 5 days to pay rent or they have to quit. Now, with this notice, it differs depending on if a tenant is on a week-to-week lease or a month-to-month lease, etc. We're only going to discuss long-term tenants in this video. Now, once the 5 days is up, you're able to go to the courthouse and file something called an unlawful detainer. Usually this would be a small fee of around $60 to $80 depending on your area. And this is basically just a summons for you and the tenant to appear in court. Depending on how backed up the court is, the court date can be within 3 weeks or it can be pushed out months. Hopefully you get the earliest available court date and hopefully it doesn't take too long. Once you all appear in court and you state your side of the story, the tenant states their side of the story, more than likely the judge is going to favor with you unless there's something that was done against the law or something that you did that you wasn't supposed to. Some of these tenants are savvy and they know how to set you up or make up a story, and in that case, the judge won't favor on your side. More than likely, the tenant didn't pay rent, you're keeping up the property, the judge is going to tell the tenant that they have to pay rent, and they have a 10-day process to do this. Now, this has been going on for a while. You can also ask the judge for an emergency eviction, which this just means the tenant does not have an extra 10 days after they lose the court case to pay, and that they have to pay now or they're going to get evicted now. Now, in my first eviction, I didn't know anything about the emergency eviction, so I had to wait the 10-day period. Of course, the tenant wasn't going to pay anyways, so I could have just filed for the emergency eviction right then and there. But I had to wait 10 days. That's longer that the tenant is just sitting in the property without paying rent. Once the 10 days is up, you have to go back to the courthouse, and then you have to file another form to motion for the actual eviction now. This form is called the writ of possession. This is the form to actually evict a tenant. But you can only do this after you wait those 10 days. Once you complete the writ for possession, now you have to wait for the sheriff's office to call you. They may call you within a few days, or it could be a couple of weeks. Once they call you, they want you to meet them out there in order to put the 3-day notice on the tenant's door. This 3-day notice is basically letting them know that they have 72 hours to remove their things. And after those 72 hours, the sheriff is going to come and remove the tenant's items for them, whether they're there or not. And the tenant cannot return to the property. And if they do, it's trespassing. Now, when you show up to your court date, it's very important that you have these 5 documents. Now, this is in 2023. By the time you watch this video, this may change depending on county, state. This is what it is as of now. You want to make sure that you have your lease agreement, your 5-day notice, your military affidavit, basically just stating that whether the tenant is in or not in the military, your lease ledger, and your tenant's rights and responsibility form. You want to make sure that you have that signed, and you want to make sure that you deliver that to the tenant before the court date. You also just want to have a copy of your unlawful detainer that you were given when you first filed it, just in case they ask or anything like that. Now, the last and most important step to this process, I'm talking slow because you really need to take this in. When the tenant gets evicted, you have to change the locks. Please change the locks. There's something called squatter's rights. I know a landlord, and this happened. The same person did this twice to her. Basically, she got evicted. The sheriff came, was kicked out of the property. Later that night, she got back into the property and moved a couple of things in. When the landlord went to call the cops on her, she knew about something called squatter's rights, which allows a squatter to stay in the property for whatever reason. If they come back or if they have things in there for a certain period of time, then you have to redo the eviction over again from start to finish. Mind you, if you do everything right the first time, the process can take 6 to 7 weeks or more, minimum. Imagine doing the process all for the tenant to break back in the property, and now you have to redo this process again. Please change the locks, secure the windows, and if you need to, put a camera out there. If it's proof that they broke into the property, but you have to have proof, then they're not entitled to squatter's rights. If you liked the information in this video, go ahead and follow, leave a comment, let me know what you think. Thank you.